So Sonia has written a fantastic book, 100 plus, on many of the futures that we can live through with if we get longevity progress. You are also an investor in longevity companies. You're also a Foresight board member, but today I want to talk to you a bit more about another board that you've joined, which is A4LI. And Dylan, if Dylan's here in the audience, he's did an office hour on this recently, but you guys really took it upon yourself to lobby for progress, especially in longevity. So I want to know a little bit, how has this been going for you as an investor and otherwise philanthropist? What got you into that? And then what are some successes in longevity lobbying that you guys have achieved?
Right, great questions. Does everybody know what A4LI is, the Alliance for Longevity Initiatives? Oh, well, if you don't, check out A4, the number 4, li.org. So it's a lobby group for longevity in Washington, D.C. This did not exist before, or to the extent that it did exist, it wasn't functional. My background is in public policy. I spent a couple of decades doing public policy work, so making policy proposals to politicians and helping them, figure out ways that they can make society better. And then I transitioned from that. I wrote a book on longevity, as Allison mentioned, 100 plus. And then I transitioned into venture capital and kind of left the policy stuff behind, but always kind of felt guilty because I have this big background in public policy and I know a lot about longevity, and I never did anything on the political side. So I had to sort of harbored this guilt that I should be doing something. But I don't live in DC, and so what could I do? And I actually, just before I say something about the successes, we've had huge successes, by the way, and we've only been around for 3 or 4 years, and we've gotten a lot done. It's been incredible, actually. But before I jump into that, I actually want to give some kudos to Foresight and Christine Peterson, who's here, because I would not have gotten involved with the Alliance for Longevity Initiatives.
Christine is very persuasive.
Yeah, there's something very powerful about the Foresight community, that being a part of it really launches. There's been so many different parts of my life that I can track back to Foresight. So thank you. And thank you, Christine. Christine sent me this text message one day. I think it was a Saturday or something. I looked down at my phone and it's like, hey, there's this guy who I just met. He said he wants to start a public policy lobby group on longevity. And I met him and I made sure he's not totally weird. So I've screened him. You should probably meet him. And I'm like, because we had met people like this before and they were not the right people. But it was nice that Christine screened him for me. And I said, okay, sure, I'll do a phone call. I wasn't super hopeful that anything was going to come from it. And that was when I met Dylan Livingston.
Chairing the board.
Yes, yeah. And I actually didn't want to be chair of the board. I said no when he first asked me.
Was that Christine as well? Was she persuasive?
Everybody at that point was persuasive, and I gave in, and I'm happy I did, and I'm happy that I'm so involved. But that, I met Dylan. He was fabulous. He had lots of great ideas, a lot of energy, and a very rational, strategic person. And so that's why, I'm like, okay, I'll join the board. I'll be chair. And then we put together, so A4LI the board would not even look the same had it not been for Christine getting me involved. And so Foresight sort of has this, impact without getting credit for it, I think, sometimes. So
we're not a lobbying organization.
No, you are not a lobbying
so
organization. So
at least we can incubate a few, I guess.
Exactly. So back to what we've done at the Alliance for Longevity Initiatives. So our first big success was putting together America's first longevity science caucus. And that was, first we had to educate some politicians about what this longevity thing was in the first place, because they're always behind. And so we spent some significant time doing that, and we made sure to that it was bipartisan. So we have a Democrat and a Republican as co-chairs of the caucus, and we're trying really hard to keep adding members in a bipartisan way so that we have everybody on board to keep the longevity revolution moving. And so that was our first big success. And then after that, we've had a whole bunch of other successes. Like we helped Montana legislators pass right to try legislation in Montana, and now
Who knows what right to try is?
Well, we actually have right to try legislation at the federal level for people who have terminal illnesses. So if you have a terminal illness and you want to try some experimental drug, but it's not approved by the FDA, you can do that using federal right to try legislation. But what about if you want to just use something for longevity purposes, right? That wasn't legal before, but now it is in Montana. Yes, exactly. Yay. After the drug or therapy has passed safety trials, right? So that's important. We don't want people trying things that might be like super dangerous. That would backfire on us as a community. So have to pass safety, but then, and so Montana is this hub now. You've probably heard of Prospera, where like there's a bunch of companies there. A lot of those companies are moving now to Montana so they can get more customers and more traction in the United States. So that's very exciting. New Hampshire is thinking of doing a similar thing. It's going to be a copycat thing, and it might spread all the way across the country. And maybe we'll have federal legislation at some point.
And maybe we'll have it here at some point.
Yeah, California. Yeah. Well, California is its own little beast. We have been working with California legislators, though. There are some enlightened people who've been very interested in what we're doing. And so you never know. So yeah, there was that. And then we have policy prescriptions on our website. I think we just announced yesterday that, there's a political candidate for Congress in New Hampshire, Brian Cole, who's took longevity, a lot of the things we were saying about longevity, and made it as part of his platform for running for Congress. This is the mainstreaming of longevity science, and we are so excited about this. I mean, this is what we need to happen in order for us to have access to longevity therapies.
I mean, it's wonderful, and it's great for the longevity space. I'm so glad, but we cannot at this point clone Dylan to try to do it for other spaces too. And because there's so many people here also that care about another space, for example, like neuro, there was a recent discussion for the neurotech field. Could something similar be done, right? Like there's a bunch of regulatory red tape and then a bunch of unhelpful restrictions in place. And what kind of can you copy paste from the lessons that you learned in the longevity ecosystem if someone tried to do that for trying to lobby for a more sane approach to technology development in a different field? Are there specific lessons?
Right. Yeah. No, definitely there are lessons. I mean, I think one of the reasons why A4LI came together so well for us is that we had Dylan, who had a background in politics already. So if you want to start some kind of lobby group, you can't just start it and know nothing about politics. You have to have somebody who has some knowledge of politics involved. Otherwise, you're just going to be spinning your wheels. So Dylan, and of course, I have a very deep background in public policy, so I'm also aware of all the players. And then in addition to that, both Dylan and I really understand longevity science. And, and members of our team like Brenda, who's sitting right here. So thank you, Brenda, for all the work you do. And, so I think that you have to make sure that whoever's involved has a foot in both politics and your topic that you're trying to move forward. So I think that's one thing. Another thing I'll mention is, we incorporated in New York as a 501c4, and I think that was a mistake. Well, yeah. Oh, hey, there you are, Dylan. You've appeared magically. Yes. Dylan was living in New York in his parents' basement and decided to incorporate it in New York. And that was a mistake because there was a heavy regulatory burden and it's kind of a pain to change it. And so if you're thinking of starting a 501c4, do it in Delaware instead. So I think that was a big learning for us. And then the biggest learning...
How do you get connected with the people that you actually need to reach? What's the... How does it work?
There are lawyers who specialize in this stuff. So you can find a lawyer who specializes in starting these organizations. Is that what you mean? Or how do you find...
once you have a lobbying org, then how do you find the people that you're trying to influence or incentivize?
Right. Well, that's the key. That's why you have to have somebody who has a foot in the political door. Because you have to know a few people. I mean, we didn't know everybody at first, but we knew a few people, right? We knew Paul Tonko. And then we met Gus Bilirakis, and
they might know others.
And then they know people, and then they know people. And I contacted my local Congresswoman Anna Eshoo at the time, and she was actually very supportive and very interested. And she joined our caucus when she was a member. And I think you just have to have people who at least know one person that can then introduce you to other people, and have people as part of your organization who are willing to call their local representatives, because that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to represent you, and they need to talk to you. and you need to be articulate about it.
Yeah. I mean, we have so little usually like policy or regulatory folks at Foresight events. It's like very hard science and tech focused, with some wonderful exceptions. So what do you think, like, what might be one thing that people here don't know about how you lobby, about why it's important, about why one might consider that for the fields that they're in? What is gained by that?
Right. You know, one thing that I learned about lobbying, so I worked at a public policy think tank for a couple of decades. And when I worked there, the goal was to be really loud, to like writing articles and writing policy papers and getting the media to interview you and talking and talking and talking. You just want everybody to hear your argument and then agree with you, and that would push the policy agenda forward. And as a think tank, that works really well because you're just trying to educate the public. But as a lobby group, you're just trying to change the minds of some politicians who are going to vote a certain way. And in that case, you don't want to be loud. And in fact, you don't even want to take credit for it. So what I've learned, and I think what Dylan's learned and Brenda, is that the best way to be effective in Washington, D.C. is to come up with really good ideas, give them to people, and let those people take credit for the ideas. And then we just sit back and be really quiet, and nobody knows that we even did it.
From the sidelines.
Yeah, exactly. And that is how you get things done. And it's been a real education for me. I'm like, wow, I've never gotten so much done by not taking credit for anything. You know, it's incredible.
Well, I really, really appreciate the work that you do. And I encourage everyone to also find you if they want to talk about investing, or if they want to talk about your philanthropic work, if they want to talk about the book, which is still amazing. Doesn't it have a pre-word, I think, from Peter Thiel, right?
Yeah, Peter Thiel wrote the foreword to my book.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think we might have time for one question if anyone wants to have a go. Not you, Dylan. Yes, Juan.
I'm curious what the community here can do to speed up your efforts. Like, what if you were to ask, what you need help with, or what we can help with? Like,
Right.
What is your top list?
Good question. Yes. Well, so we're always raising money for what we're doing, and so you can donate. But we also need volunteers and community helpers. So we're building community. We need people who can actually call their Congress people and make an argument. We have an annual conference every year. This year it's in the summer, where we bring people in to DC, and we bring staffers there, and we have a day where we send out all the people who came to the conference. We send them out to go meet their representative in DC and tell them, look, this is personal to me. We care about health span. We care about making people healthier, and you should be on board with this agenda. And that's actually been very effective for us. I mean, I don't know how many people we sent around to DC offices that one day last year. 70. We sent out 70 people to talk to Congress people. Isn't that incredible? You know what? That makes a difference when they see a real living human being walk into their office, and it's just, saying that they care about this issue. It has a big impact.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Sonia. You'll be also around for some of the day?
I'll be here for a little bit.
Okay,
Yeah.
for a little bit. Well, then grab her soon.